All right, everyone. Now, here's where the TIE fighter sits right now. Okay? She is kind of halfway done with the interior. You know, and it looks pretty interesting right now. It really does. What I need to do is get 2 more LEDs down here in the fiber for the laser cannons. Okay? And this is going to become a wiring nightmare because there is very little room. I have to work with this surface area here. Very little room. I'm working on the LED for this one tiny hair-thin fiber sticking up here that probably doesn't even show much on the camera. Alright? It's a 3mm LED. It's yellow. I can tuck it up underneath the bottom here where the fiber's coming out just fine. The wiring is going to be the tricky part on it, and I'm about to cut the ends off the LED and put a resistor on it. I don't know if I can even fit shrink tube on this, so most likely I'm just going to stick it in there and cover it with 5-minute epoxy resin. Once it's covered with the 5-minute resin, it's going to be pretty much done. Okay? So that's done. That'll be done pretty quick. That one's not worrying me. One that's worrying me is the fiber for the laser cannons. Now, I took a candle and I bent the fibers with the candle. They work fine as long as you don't bend them too much. There's an equation in physics that governs the angle on fiber optics. Okay? And, well, I don't know the index of refraction of the fiber. But what I do know from that equation is a sharp bend and light doesn't... You start losing light when you go around a sharp bend. Okay? And I did not give these too sharp of a bend. You can see they still transmit light just fine. You can see it lights up on the end just fine. I didn't give them too sharp of a bend. But heating these big fibers and bending them a little bit sure helps. And it doesn't destroy their light carrying capabilities. I tried an experiment with one fiber, and I can't find it right now, where I sanded the end of it. And if you sand the end, it does start transmitting light everywhere around the edges, but the effect isn't worth it to me. My other problem is I'm supposed to take a 5mm LED. And the reason for a 5mm LED is I don't have any small orange ones that are bright. Okay? This is a 5mm LED. It's huge. This is a 3. See the difference in their sizes? I would love to do this with a 3, but I don't have one. And a 5mm LED in here eats up a lot of room, as you can see. So what I did is I took my 5mm LED and hit it with a file. It's not that much shorter. I just took the top off of it. It is a lot thinner though, and that's going to help a lot because it cuts down on some of the space requirements. The space requirements I'm having trouble with is that thickness of the LED. If I can squeeze it up against one of the side walls, you know, that helps an awful lot and it leaves the center clear. I need that center clear for putting wiring through. Okay? Now the end of it, I got it clear again after filing it. And the way you get this clear again is I started with 800 grit sandpaper, then 1,000, then 2,000, then 4,000, then 6,000, then 12,000. Once I was done with the 12,000 grit sandpaper, I actually put lacquer thinner on the end of it and it polished it up fairly clear. I didn't do that for the sides because, well, I don't really want the light transmitting through the sides. Being honest there. I'm not sure how I'm going to put this in the kit yet. I do have brass tubing, and I'm going to use a brass tube on the 3mm LED because one, it helps the light block, two, it helps me center that one poor little fiber in there. One tiny poor little fiber in there. Okay? It does help me do that. But the 5mm, the brass tubing for the 5mm LED won't fit in there well. So I'm trying to figure out what to do with that. Most likely what I'll end up doing is just using aluminum tape, because aluminum tape will hold it in place. Or I might just smash this with a pair of pliers, because this still fits in there and it still has the rim and the ledge to stop it, but if I smash it down, it'll work. And the reason for the brass tubing is it light blocks. You got a lot less light leakage to worry about, and it helps hold the fibers in place. So I could just cut this and then smash it. I might do that. That'll work. So we'll think about it. I'm about to start soldering the little yellow fiber LED in so I can light that one fiber that goes behind the pilot. When I hold this up to the light, hopefully you guys can see what's lighting up with this tiny little fiber in there. Yeah, you can see it. There's one little light going off the side of his shoulder. Those are actually lit up in the real TIE fighter, so they're lit up here. All right, I'm gonna get going on this instead of just talking to you guys on the camera. All right, everyone. We have one more LED done. This is why I like the 3mm LEDs better than the 5 on this, because that goes underneath the rim and it leaves the center clear. Okay, I'm using 5-minute epoxy to glue everything down on this one, not super glue, simply because I don't want it moving on me. And that 5-minute epoxy is going to keep it from moving. It's not 100% cured yet, but I've already tested the light. The light works fine. The fiber is lit up fine. The fiber is glued in place now. So we've got everything done there. What's left of the laser cannons and their LED, I'm going to go ahead and glue the laser cannons into the front of the TIE fighter. Once the fibers are glued in, then I have two things left. I have to figure out how I'm going to power this thing and how I'm going to put the LED in for the laser cannons. Those are the two things I have left on this, the last two challenges. Once those are done, well, it's just paint. Once I get there, it's just paint. So I'm happy with that idea. I'm going to get going on the fibers for the laser cannons. I have the front of the ship here. I have the two fibers here. Gluing them in with epoxy resin, just like I glued everything therein. I can use micro crystal clear, but the problem with the micro crystal clear is it takes too long to dry, and I don't want to be here forever waiting for that to dry. I want to get moving on this. My goal is to have the two halves of the ship glued together today. Okay? I'm about to pull out, while that's curing, I'm going to pull out all of my plugs and see what I can do for this. Because if I can put a plug in the bottom of this, I'd like to. That way, if I decide to wire the TIE fighter into some other display later, I can. And that would be optimal. Because I really want to do a diorama with this and an X-Wing in a trench or something, one chasing the other. That's what I really want to do. Okay? And in order to do that, I have to be able to remove this from the base I'm making right now. So, plug would be optimal. No plug, well, I'll deal with the other part of it later when I have to. Alright, I'll be back in a bit. I'll show you the end result of gluing the fibers in there. Alright everyone, I have success. The fibers are glued in. They light up just fine. I think you guys can see it there. Definitely can see it there. They're lighting up just fine. I got stuck though, because I'm looking at the other half and this half. And I'm trying to figure out how to get power in and out of this thing. I know I'll get it figured out. Here's the bottom cap. I have some of these plugs. DC power plug. size K DC power plug. You know what my problem is? I don't have the other end of the plug. Yeah, I have this end, not the other end for these two smaller plugs. If I get the other end of them, we're all great to go. I'm going to have to go see what I can dig up at my local electronics stores. If not, it's online and I'm waiting, and I don't like that idea too much. So I'll go see what I can do. Just let you know where I'm at. I'll be back in a little while. All right, everyone. I got a power jack installed in the bottom of the TIE Fighter. It's a DC, it's a audio jack. A 3/32 audio jack, earphone jack. Surface mount jack. Here's the earphone plug. Plugs in there really tight. You can hear it click in. It fits on the bottom of this thing. And there's room. I can spin it. It barely fits. And since the connector's on the side, that's like a bonus. My only problem is the laser cannons in the front. If I didn't have to light these two, this would be very, very done. Okay? I've already glued the fibers in here. You can see it. They're glued in. They're not coming out easily. So whatever solution I come up with is going to have to work around that. I've got a couple working in my head right now. We'll see what I can do. I might have to just rely on some heavy light blocking from the underside of this thing. I might try to bend the fibers a little bit because there is room to one side of that power jack. Let me get this off here. I got some room over on this side because there's more wires on this side. I've got some room on this side for an LED like this. Don't push too much on that, Mr. John. But I got room for this LED over here. Because the power jack's almost the exact same footprint as that square. Well, it's bigger. But I can do the power jack. It is done front to back right there. So it is about as wide as that square. So there's room for this LED over here. Okay. Wiring it is going to be fun. No doubt. But there is room for, oh, you guys can't see. There is room for it over here. Okay. So if I can get the fibers run over to there, it'll be fine. This power jack is about as wide as that. What I should do is, I've got more than one of these. I should lay one out on here and draw an outline around it so I know where the power jack's going to go. And make sure that area is clear so I can seal this thing up. I'm kind of glad I ran the wires around the outside really tight. So that gives me some maneuvering room. And it doesn't give me some maneuvering room in some regards. Because I got to leave the front clear to get this fiber. To get these two fibers over to the LED over here. Alright, well, let me get going on this because I think the solution just came to mind. I'll be back in a little bit.